Hello, everyone. Welcome to this interview. I am Willie Reyes, Editor in Chief of Business World. Latest estimates of the IMF, World Bank, ADB, AMRO, and other organizations place Philippine economic growth around the lower end of the government target, making the country still among the faster growing economies in the world. But that picture can turn vastly different and concerning as we dig down those macro numbers. And so we are privileged to have with us today United Nations Assistant Secretary General and UN Development Program Asia Pacific Director, Kani Wignaraja, who ends today week-long talks with top government officials, as well as private sector and civil society leaders. She assumed her current role in November 2019, practically on the eve of the declaration of the pandemic in mid-March the following year. Welcome to this interview, Kani, and thank you for squeezing us into the last few hours of your mission in this country.
Thank you, and it's great to join you on this show, Willie.
Okay, so let's first have an overview. Can you tell us with whom you met specifically in this country and what was discussed?
So I've been here about a week now, and I've had the privilege of meeting the Secretary Abalos, Secretary Balisakar, Secretary Manalo, Secretary Loizaga, also Secretary Yokno, Secretary Galvas, and this morning I was with OIC Berhera. And last weekend, I was in Bam with the Chief Minister. So a significant part of the national leadership to discuss what are the ways forward on COVID recovery that can accelerate Philippines move forward, not according to the old pathways, but now in the new directions that the country is setting for itself. So for UNDP, it really has been an intense week of discussions, both with leadership, but also with municipalities and communities.
So what key points about the Philippines stood out in your meetings this week?
Well, for me, if I take if I step back and look at how Philippines has been hit by COVID, and it has pushed back some of the development indicators that the country had invested in. So we did see a drop in the human development indicator from high human development to medium. It's not unexpected. The question is how we can recover and move back onto this track. So I would say a few things that were at the center of the conversation. One is in the process of recovery, how does one move very quickly to generating jobs, to new livelihoods for young people? That was a big focus of the conversation, and this to be done from the barangay level onwards, so that you really look at community livelihoods and people's incomes and how to protect that and promote that. Now, related to that, I have to say that an area that is going to provide Philippines with a boost is investment in local, very resilient infrastructure. I mean, if I just look at what's going on now with the storms hitting Cotabato city, for example, and the surrounding barangay, we have to be investing in local infrastructure that can withstand the flooding, the super typhoons. So very different kind of infrastructure, but that will also raise the economic development of these areas. And I would say the third big area is when I look at Philippines vis-a-vis some of its neighbors, we see an underinvestment, if you might call it that, in education. And at the end of the day, people are the wealth of a nation. So really reinvesting or investing more in learning and education is really going to propel this country forward. And when I say education, I mean from early learning all the way to technical and tertiary. Because if this country is going to, if I take an example, going to be energy secure, you want scientists, engineers who move this country into renewable energy, for example, and be energy secure within its borders.
Will there be, okay, you did mention your flagship report. It's the Human Development Report that was released in September. So it's very interesting and also sobering. The Human Development Index overall dropped for 2 years in a row, I understand, and it's first time ever. The Philippines in particular slipped 3 notches, and actually the country barely improved in human development rank between 2015 and 2021. We've seen the plans of the government, but as we all try to dig ourselves out into a post-pandemic period, now what should we keep in mind as we work to improve human development or the different aspects of human development in the next few years?
I think a key emphasis, certainly from where I sit, Willie, is the continued investment in peace and stability. Now, that has a cost to it, but it also brings great opportunity. In this world we are today, with so much that is in conflict and turbulence, the fact that Philippines can show that it is moving into an era of stability from a peace and conflict point of view, I think also attracts investment. So that is a big part of it. A second part is indeed the issue of, it was if I unpack the human development indicators, there was a drop in change in life expectancy that Philippines got hit with relative to some of its neighbors, for example, in ASEAN. So looking at investments in primary healthcare is going to be a big area, and something we were discussing this morning also with OIC Vergeres, and also with the DOF secretary on how to bring in more climate financing that will help put this country on a more secure track to address some of these climate shocks. This country is hit over and over again by climate shocks that is not of its doing. So these are two areas, or three areas, if you put the education piece also, that I think investing more in these areas is going to put the country on a better human development track going forward.
Yes, you mentioned the climate shocks, and we are bracing for another storm that will hit this weekend. So after this mission, what's the concrete next step for the UNDP in the Philippines based on what you found out in your consultations?
Maybe I can pick up a few big areas that we are looking at with government, but also to see if we can incentivize private sector to come in and scale some of these efforts. Certainly, if I look at in the Bangsamoro region, it needs a lot of investment in job creation and in value chains. Now, value chains can't be done by government alone. It has to bring in private sector. So the communities that we are working with were so excited about the opportunity to take what could be, I'll take an example. The fishing industry is very small scale, very limited to the immediate barangay. Maybe if they're lucky, they get their produce to Cotabato City. But if we can create the transport links, if we can create, we just handed over a solar-powered ice block making machine. That means they can scale not just the production capacity, but the supply to the market outside of their local area and get a much better price for it. Now, the question is, what can be done to improve the cost of doing business, to lower the cost of doing business, but also to have banks, the financing sector, come in to support local businesses so they can go from being this very, very micro to actually being small and medium scale and create more jobs across the Philippines.
Yes, I was just wondering, are there models out there which the Philippines can look at in terms of, details like poverty eradication, reducing income
Absolutely.
inequality, improving other aspects of human development, and what lessons do these models offer?
Absolutely. I think you put your finger on it, because the issue is, how do you really take on a war on poverty? And to do that, I think where we are seeing practices that are working is really investing in green infrastructure at the local level. So from housing to transport to roads and bridges that can withstand climate shocks and withstand particularly these type of natural disasters, these flooding and storms. That makes a huge difference. A second high return area is making sure that health clinics and schools continue to have a power supply, and also local businesses. So how do you shift to renewables? I was interested to see in the governor of Iloilo, because UNDP supported the provincial hospital to be now run with solar energy. So the cost of electricity went down, but they're also able to keep the lights on throughout. Now he wants the whole province to, in fact, be reliant more on renewables. So that is another high return area of investment. And I would say a third area is this connection between looking at the education system that generates the new skills and capabilities of the young Filipino generation. At the same time, while people will continue to migrate, how do you incentivize that the remittances come back to reinvest in local development, not only in consumption? So the capture of remittances is going to be a critical area, I think, of revenue generation for development in this country.
Yes, those are all interesting points. Let me just, perhaps to close, let me just end this interview by zeroing in on one particular concern of the private sector, because we did say that, or you did say that the private sector has a big role to play here. Sustainability has become a buzzword increasingly in this crisis, but still mainly for big companies, big businesses that have more resources. I was wondering, how can sustainability be compelling for small businesses, which make up majority of the business sectors anywhere, and which are struggling in this crisis?
That's a very good point, and it really is something that has to be unpacked and taken on, because in most of our Asian societies, households live through micro and small enterprises. That's their lifeline, right? And they cannot compete with the big industry. So this is where both the development partners, but most importantly, the public sector has to come in to help micro and small enterprises be competitive. So reducing the cost of energy for SMEs is going to be critical. Offering, bringing down the cost of money, the cost of credit is going to be critical. And then being able to provide insurance, risk insurance, business insurance, so there is a covering of the loss in case they are hit or they have to close, whether it's because of a pandemic or because of a storm. So there are different ways in which I think both organizations like mine, but also municipalities, LGUs, national government can come in to support and promote small businesses, which are our lifeblood in our societies, really be actually at the front end of a green recovery that they lead.
All right. Thank you for your valuable insights and also for your time, Canny.
Thank you, Billy. Wonderful to talk with you.
And many thanks to our viewers as well. Good day.